Welcome back to our wonderful podcast. Welcome to Web3. We haven't spoke in a few weeks. That's mainly my fault. I was away in Dubai doing some traveling. I was out at Token 2049, but it's a really good time to kind of reconnect. The halving has happened. We talked a lot about that before, and what the outcomes might be. And I think we're seeing it unfold in real time now. We can just dive straight into that if you want, ladies. Anyone want to share their thoughts on what's happening currently? On the 2nd of May, if anyone's listening at a later date.
Well, I texted to you, Andrea, this morning, I believe, or yesterday. I said, never a dull moment. It's like feeling like you're in a roller coaster all the time. It never stops. And even if it consolidates a bit, then it's not okay as well. So it's always like, ah. Yeah,
Yes.
it was a pretty intense a couple of weeks actually. So we didn't do a recording, and maybe it's not even because you were traveling, George, but also because we were like, oh my God, what's going on? We were busy watching crypto and all the analysis and making our own conclusions, I guess. So, what's your conclusion, Andrea?
Well, so the industry and my awesome group who I've been with since 2019 or 2018 maybe. That was the last bear market, by the way, in crypto. That one was really painful. Anyway, um, basically we're seeing it as kind of a sell the news event is what happened after the halving. However, according to all the prior or the past two or three prior halvings, they happen every 4 years in Bitcoin. Um, it always dumps right after, but then is when the real bull run starts. So it has a correction, and you're not going into the bear; you're just correcting, and then you move, a couple months after that into the serious bull run, and then it stays that way for few more months, and then you start to correct into the bear once you hit your next all-time high. And so we're still seeing that we're in the correction from, and if you do that Elliott wave analysis, we're in the number 4 correction,
It's yeah,
and we haven't hit 5 yet,
and
which is the highest point. I mean, my group is seeing like 97K Bitcoin, something like that. And that could happen, later in the summertime. But what we're seeing actually, I mean, it could still drop some more. We're getting like 54K, 55K around there
yeah,
as
my
a
group as
potential.
well.
Yeah, just from TA too, it shows that you could
Yeah,
drop to 55K to clear out, hit those Fibonacci points, and then go up from there. And then your corrections are finished. You've hit, done what you got to do, and then you're free to move. The Bitcoin's free to move up.
I think what I mostly saw on crypto Twitter is that, well, we call it X right now, but it's still CT crypto Twitter. Is that there was a discussion going on, like, did the bull run end already? Did it end? And everybody was freaking out, and even the fear and greed index went from, I don't know, 70. That's pretty positive, to 43, I believe. That's
Yeah,
pretty like scary. And
right.
so there was a lot of talk on crypto Twitter about the end of the bull market. And then George, I reached out to you as well, and then
Yeah,
we said, "What do you think?" And you said, "Oh, I'm only around Bitcoin Maxi, so that's not very."
they just think it's going to the moon
Yeah,
every other day. But I think
All
it
right.
is interesting, and the reason why people are probably thinking that it's are we already in the bear is because that might be their first time, and I think when people have probably seen their portfolio go up a little bit and then it drops down, it feels scary. It does feel scary. You might have had
yeah, it
an
does.
extra 50% in your portfolio, and it affects some of the altcoins a little bit more as well. They go from 20 to 10
Yep.
cents. You're half in some of your your gains that you've kind of thought in your head. So I feel the fear sets in, and people sell at a lower price. But if you look at the bigger picture, and if we are correcting at the moment, and then it's going to hit back up, and if we get to 97, 100K or something like that for Bitcoin, then you watch that bleed down. We talked about alt season as well, coming in after that. I know even though I was with a load of Bitcoin maxis, there's loads of L2s that are, you know, building on Bitcoin, so they're going to kind of probably have their alt season off the back of it. And yeah, it should kind of filter down the funnel. So, you know, I think we've still got a little bit more time. I don't think it's going to, you know, it's definitely not over yet. I think we've got to, like you say, latter toward part of summer, maybe we'll see that new Bitcoin all-time high. And then, yeah, we can bleed it out for the rest of the year with some altcoins, right? You were going to say something, Martin?
Yeah, well, hopefully. And yeah, I was thinking, what about the elections in the United States? Because I know there's some conversation about that as well. Like, if Biden is going to be elected, it will not be so good for crypto. And if Trump will be elected, it will be good for crypto. Not saying I'm pro Biden or pro Trump. I'm a European, so I'm not going to dive into that one. Um, but there's some conversation about that the elections in the United States will have a big impact on crypto. What are your thoughts about that, Andrea, as a U.S. citizen?
Well, it's interesting because Trump has been anti-crypto at one point, and then he's kind of leaning towards crypto now.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think there's a clear stance, you know, for him.
I don't hope so.
Crypto, but I
Well,
think
clear stance for him.
yeah, I think in general though, people are worried about Biden and the economy because he's just spent so much money and just driven inflation crazy. And so Trump is like viewed as better for business. And so,
Yeah.
you know,
He's
and
always had that
potentially
kind of effect,
crypto
right?
as well, especially. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say he's always kind of had that better for business kind of mentality, right? It's always that kind of capital,
Yeah.
which is interesting because it can get a sticky subject talking about politics, but I think also there's timing, right? So Biden came in at a bit of a bad time. I mean, we're feeling the pinch in the UK as well from like inflation as well, but with crypto, I think with that, people then are looking at more traditional markets, and they sometimes turn to crypto, you know, and that's like where you can make your, you know, bigger back, or where I guess more people that are a little bit in the know. And maybe that's why we get asked all these questions all the time. It's like, you can't make money in, you know, traditional models through banking models at the moment. So you need higher leverage, and crypto offers that, right? So you've got, you know,
Right.
high risk, high reward, and maybe that's why we are getting approached all the time on like what's coming. But then, you know, then the fear sets in when you've got people or their portfolios dropped in half overnight, and then, you know, you've got to kind of have the stomach to hold, right? And I think that's what sets you apart from, you know, something like quite traditional like housing, or, you know, just ISAs, bonds, whatever it might be. They're a bit more traditional from a financial point of view. You don't have those crazy drops, right? And that's where people sometimes bottle it, sell, and then have a bad experience with crypto.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people are used to traditional investors buy something that they think is good quality and they hold it for years, you know, and just expect it to go up and be worth, like if you bought Amazon stock a long time ago, then, you know, it's worth a ton of money now. But with crypto, you definitely have those waves. I mean, if you didn't sell your crypto in, you know, 2021, beginning in 2022, you got stuck holding it, you know, and it went down like 90%. It can really drop with the, you know, the altcoins especially, you know, during the bear market. And then you have to wait till the bull market comes back, and hopefully your project was good enough to survive the bear market. And so these are more, you know, you kind of have to, some things are longer term, like Bitcoin can be longer term, Ethereum, some of the more, you know, blue chip cryptos, but a lot of the others are, you know, we're still very, you know, the industry in terms of investing, it's risky. It's viewed as like the riskiest side of the height of the tech stocks, basically.
Yeah.
And as a note, it is moving with the stock market right now. One reason we had the crash is because everybody, it was U.S. based, the Fed yesterday was going to, you know, announce what they were going to do with interest rates. And so since the inflation rate was higher than expected in March, they were expecting the Fed to potentially raise the rate or give hawkish news. Hawkish means that they're going to contract the economy, and dovish news means that they're going to expand and be gentle with the economy. And so it actually ended up being pretty good news. The interest rate did not change. And they said that as of June 1st, they're going to start tapering quantitative tightening. And what that means is they're going to start lessening the tightening. They're going to start loosening up basically their monetary policy. They're not going to buy as many bonds. When you buy bonds, that means you're taking money out of the economy that are they're longer term investments. You're taking money out of the economy. When you're buying stocks, you're supporting the stock market and keeping the money flowing in the money markets. And so the Fed said that as of June 1st, they're going to start supporting the stock market, lower the cap on how many bonds they're going to allow for redemption or something like that by quite a bit. So that means that they're going to start loosening up the policy and start letting money go back into the economy. And it's a balancing act because they don't want to raise inflation, but they don't want to stop growth. So we are at risk of stagflation if things keep going. And stagflation is when inflation is high and there's low growth. So it's like the worst of both worlds, and you're just like stuck with high prices and low growth, like the Weimar Republic after World War II in Germany. And so you don't want that to happen. So they're trying to keep inflation kind of steady at least, or not increasing, maybe drop a little bit, but allow for growth. And so they're playing that game, and that's good for stocks. And I just read on Twitter that they're thinking that some of the C-level executives on Wall Street are thinking that there will be an actual rate cut in September. He really wants to cut rates. I know the guys, Powell is getting a lot of pressure to cut the interest rates because it's really, hurting the housing market, hurting so many, credit markets and things. And then this all impacts the stocks, and right now it is impacting crypto too. Until they diverge, until people go to crypto as a safe haven from other markets. But right now we're seeing them kind of together. But that bodes well for the summertime, for cryptos doing well in the summer. Anyway, sorry. That's my little economics lesson.
No,
it's interesting.
It's really interesting.
I read an interesting article in the FT that was kind of validating that point, and it was around. So it was talking about what happened with COVID. So obviously it feels a while ago, but I think on average in the UK it was like £15,000 was given to each household, and it was spent to boost and retain the economy. But what happened to that money? It didn't just get burnt into thin air, right? It's there somewhere, and they were linking it back to real world assets, and so they were saying that interest rates are going to go down, but that's not necessarily going to bring the housing prices down, because what you're going to do is you're going to see the rich have held on. They're assuming the rich have held on to that 15,000, right? So it's been spent, it's gone out, it's gone into corporations and is lining rich people's pockets, and they're going to buy real world assets. So the guy who wrote the article, he was long on gold. He was saying gold's going to be where it's at. The housing market, rather than crash and dip with it, you're going to see high prices go up, and it's just going to create that larger gap from the model where more people are renting, and that the kind of rental prices go up. So it doesn't really, and they're sky high at the moment anyway. And I guess, how do you bring that back down to what we're talking about in crypto? Well, what you'll see is people have less disposable income, so you're going to get less of that kind of retail investment. But we talked before about how now we've got BlackRock and Vanguard involved, that now crypto is much more than just a retail swing game. So I think, again, no financial advice here, but it's you're going to struggle to make it in those traditional models, right? And so this is where listen to this sort of stuff, or doing your own research and trying to back something. You're going to make bigger gains and put your disposable income into something like crypto, even if you're long in Bitcoin, right? It's because if you long Bitcoin versus, even if you bought, ideally you bought in the last crash, you bought at 9K, and even a dip like now, where it's, you're 5x from where you are, and if it's going to go to 100 and you keep on buying it, and we're saying there's going to be 3 more bull runs before we start to stabilize, well, you're going to do a lot better than you would if you put it into a traditional ISA or property. Very rarely do you see a property 5x anymore. It's not the year of the boomers.
True.
Exactly.
but unless you are afraid of like the volatility, because it can be very brutal, and you can do two things if you're not used to that and you don't like it. You can just close your eyes, don't look at
Yeah.
your portfolio, and just sit,
That's what
wait
I
it out.
sometimes have to do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, don't look at your portfolio. Just touch some grass, like they say it. Go outside, do something else. Just don't have a look, because it will be all right. It may take some time, but it will be okay.
Yeah.
Or that's what I'm doing. Um, or reach out to people that are in different groups and compare notes. See
Yes.
if there's something that is aligning, like will it drop or not? How much will it drop? And what I always found out is that, Andrea, when we compare notes, and George, you as well, if we compare notes, it's 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 always more or less the same idea. And these are notes from people from different industries, from different perspectives.
Exactly. It's so much more comforting when you can expect, when you know. I mean, my group was expecting a drop in April for
Yeah.
months. I mean, literally.
Yeah,
And
I
that was
know.
pretty wild, that it actually did happen, right around the halving. And it's
Yeah.
partially, because that's happened before, it rises until the halving, and then, people sell and take their profits, but Bitcoin has tightened at this point, and so it should go up again. And it's not just that; it's also, we have other good news. We've still got the Ethereum ETF coming out, and that's
Yeah.
supposed to come out still end of May. And there's FUD around it, like, oh,
Yeah.
probably won't be approved, but my group thinks it definitely will be approved. That it will be. So we'll
It
see.
better
Let's
be.
hope
But that
so. Let's hope
we
so.
haven't had our alt
It
season
better
yet.
be, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had our alt season, our proper alt season. Different pieces, of different verticals within crypto have popped because of other narratives, like AI narrative is hot, so that popped, and different narratives. But when you have that bull run, everything goes up, and you get like a 10x, in the altcoins. And we haven't. I mean, it started to do that kind of in March, but then it didn't completely. We
Yeah,
didn't
exactly.
get it, and that was a lot because of the Bitcoin ETF. Okay.
I think that's
Yeah.
what we're seeing
Dominance.
normalize again. And then, if they're not dropping below to where they were, they're kind of holding, you're probably going to see them go back up and beyond. Exactly what we said around with Bitcoin. It's re-establishing where it's at the market. We'll get some more money flooded in. And as that Bitcoin hits around that 100K mark or wherever it gets to, then you're going to see it trickle down into those altcoins. And that's when everyone's happy and you see lots of fun projects and, the Xverse goes, wild, and your Twitter feed is so bullish, and people, just screaming from the rooftops about their project. And it's a wonderful place to be, and one wonderful thing to see, the good energy. It's just you've got to remember that's to come, and remember that email that we talked about before, where you send it to sell. There's going to be a point where you've got to sell, or you hold on for the next run, and you have to get into it.
Timing your sales is so important. Yes, you have to do it. You have to sell at some point. That's my problem.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've got a number because I've got a wedding to pay for, so I've got a number to as soon as it hits that, get out there. So that's my strategy. I've also got a few friends that they pin on top of their Twitter like their predictions, and they're really bullish on them. So and the guy before that said we'd have an all-time high before April or whatever, and he put 70K, so he's really happy.
Yeah.
But it's quite fun to put that sort of stuff out there. You always put your predictions out on the line, and you'll see people kind of engage with that, and they might agree or disagree, but it's all part of the kind of if you're going to be in this space, you might as well have a voice and have an opinion about what you think what might happen, especially if you can't, you're never not. I mean, we talked about kind of closing your eyes and not looking at it, but reality is you're kind of in this 24/7. Really, the markets don't close. It's on your Twitter, it's on your Telegram, it's on your Discord. People are chatting about it.
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is a lovely place to end. We're going to have lots more to chat about, and hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll have see what that kind of correction actually boils down to. But thank you both so much as always. It's a pleasure catching up. Cheers.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks, guys. Hang in there, everybody.
Bye.